Welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Coleman. This is another episode of Cottage Talk today, my daily show, which I am doing for the month of January. And if you would like to listen back to the podcast, please do become a paid member on the Patreon page. So please do subscribe. You just simply go to patreon.com/cottage talk and you can become a paid member by subscribing. It is a nominal fee. It's, not that much, but I think I priced it right. But please do check it out. And I am doing a show each and every day. I am broadcasting live on X, on YouTube, and also on Facebook. I will leave up the live broadcast on YouTube, but I will be deleting the others. But if you want to, like I said, listen back, please do become a paid member on the Patreon page. And if you're wondering, it's very easy to, once you become a paid member, to actually get it on your app. Like I listen to it on my iPhone. You can get it on that app. You can enable it within Patreon to, once you become a paid member, that it shows up in your app file. And I listen to all my episodes and they come right through. Once once you become a paid member, you would have access to all of these Cottage Talk Today shows, which I'm doing exclusively in January. And if I do get 50 additional paid members by the end of the month, I will continue this until the end of the season. I've gotten a few, so it's actually a very good thing, but I need more. So if you want to listen to a daily show until the end of the season, please do become a paid member. Please help us out. If not, like I said, we will be doing a daily show each and every day until the end of January. I'd like to do it longer, but I need more members to do that. Okay. Enough of that. So today's topic is another interesting one. Like I mentioned in the show from yesterday, I have taken on a little bit of a theme here that I got from a local radio show here in Boston called Felger Maz. They do what is known as Maz's tiers. It's basically 4 levels of, say, a topic. In this case, today's topic will involve managers in the Premier League and where does Marco Silva fit in there. Yesterday I did owners and I had mentioned that went through all the different tiers, and I'll mention them right now. Tier 4 is the worst of the worst. Tier 3 is mediocre. Tier 2 is good manager. And Tier 1 is the best of the best. So I'll go through all the managers in the league except for Manchester United and Chelsea because they are dealing with new situations and it's unfair to put them into any tier. So they will not be going into any tier. But what tier will Marco Silva be going into? Well, you're going to have to listen for the entire episode or watch it back on YouTube or continue to watch live. I'll be going for about 15 to 20 minutes to see where Marco falls. But I will just start, before I go on any further, just talking a little bit about Marco's time as being full manager as I've come to figure out exactly where Marco falls in these tiers. So he's been, again, a manager that probably has been one of the best managers I remember in my time as a Fulham supporter. So that is definitely something that has been extremely good. Again, got us promoted. The seasons have been very good for the most part, but there is one theme that continues to go on, and hopefully it will not go on this season, and it's the second half of the season fade. It's happened every season. So you have to ask yourself why. And also, very well mentioned on the show with me is that Marco doesn't really make in-game changes, doesn't really change the formation too much. Sometimes he does. But for the most part, it's like-for-like changes, and that's been a little bit of criticism I've had of Marco Silva. But that doesn't mean that I don't think he's a quality manager. The question is, where does he belong in these tiers? And I'll go through them right now. And these are all interesting. So I put all the managers in these different tiers. So let's start with tier 4. And let's start with the first one, Daniel Farke from Leeds United. I think, again, way over his head. Farke, in my opinion, is not a manager that should be managing in the Premier League. He's more of a championship manager, but Leeds are where they are, and they're sticking with him. But for me, he deserves to be in tier 4. Thomas Frank, right now, this is where they are right now. Based on what I've seen from Tottenham Hotspur, he deserves to be in tier 4. Last season, I would not put him in there, but this is where Tottenham are right now, and he's certainly not getting the most out of them. I think it's difficult for him based on the club that he's managing. But Thomas Frank right now belongs in tier 4. Nuno, a manager that I have a lot of respect for. However, the situation with West Ham is very difficult, and I'm only judging it based on right now where they are. And Nuno has not had the opportunity or been able to turn things around. So Nuno deserves to be in tier 4, but I do rate him as a manager. It's just the situation at hand. Rob Edwards deserves to be there. He's been put in a very difficult situation with Wolves, but that's where they are, and that's where they deserve to be. I'm talking about Wolves, and so does Rob Edwards. I think he's a decent manager, but right now, he's among the worst of the worst when it comes to the managers. And the worst of all for me, no shocker here, is Scott Parker. Scott Parker is who he is. He's a championship manager. He can get his team promoted to the Premier League, which is a good thing. But his football is the most boring to watch. And he doesn't make many changes either. The only changes he makes is pretty much to see out matches. He wants to win 1-0. And I don't think that Scott Parker is a Premier League manager. And so for me, no question about it. Out of the managers I'm talking about, I think Scott Parker's the worst. And certainly belongs in tier 4. So let's go to tier 3. You could call this mid-table mediocrity, or you could just, for whatever reasons, but, some of these managers, it might surprise you because they're not mid-table. But this is where I see them. I don't see them as good managers right now. I see them as mediocre. Arne Slot deserves to be there. Sorry, Chris, if you end up watching this, but he, again, inherited a very good side, won the Premier League last season, and this season gotten better players, and the team has only gotten worse. So I'm just basing on what's going on with Liverpool because he's not getting the most out of that side. So Arne Slot deserves to be in tier 3, which is mediocre. David Moyes, again, a manager that I have a lot of respect for, and they could be heading towards the top 10. I'm talking about Everton. But right now, I just see him as a mid-table manager. So I am going to put him in tier 3, which is mediocre. Sean Dyche belongs there as well. A manager that can get teams out of trouble. And I think Will, when it comes to Nottingham Forest, a manager I respect. But again, it's just mediocre. It's always going to be near the bottom of the Premier League. Sean Dyche belongs in tier 3. And then I'm going to put the Sunderland manager in there, even though they're doing so well. I think that what's going on there is more to do with, again, just having a very good season. But I think eventually they're going to come back to the pack and end up in mid-table. I might be a little harsh right now, but I'm putting the Sunderland manager in tier 3. And if I revisit this near the end of the season, maybe he will be in tier 2. Who knows? So let's get to the good managers in tier 2, and there's a bunch of them. Adoni Iraola belongs in there. There's no question he should be in tier 2. I'm not putting him in tier 1 because I've seen situations where his teams have been taken advantage of. I don't think he is the best of the best. I think he is a very good manager. I guess I could put good to very good, but tier 2 is where I think Iraola belongs. Fabian Hertzler, I think, belongs there too, doing a good job. at Brighton Hove Albion, but not the best of the best. Oliver Glasner could be a tier 1 manager, but right now he is in tier 2 with Crystal Palace. Does a good job, but again, not really taking Crystal Palace to say where I would put him in tier 1. But he's a very good coach. Like I said, maybe I should change tier 2 to good to very good. Eddie Howe deserves to be there. He's doing what he normally does for Newcastle United. Maybe they're not doing as well as they have in years past, but very good quality manager. Expect Newcastle United to be in the top 10. I'm going to rate him right now in tier 2. That's Eddie Howe. And I'm going to put this manager here. I do not like this manager at all. Can't stand this manager. But I have to give him and his club the due. The Brentford manager, Keith Andrews, is going into tier 2. I hope by, say, the end of the season, I might put him in tier 3 or tier 4. But right now, I have to call it like I see it. Keith Andrews, for being a set-piece coach and all that, what's going on with Brentford, they're punching way above their weight. It's working. So he deserves to be in tier 2. And that's going to lead to tier 1. In tier 1, the best of the best, I think we have to put Mikel Arteta in there. I think Arsenal are going to win the league, and I think Arteta has put Arsenal in a very good position to win the league. And again, I have my critique of him, and I know Arsenal support is similar to Marco Silva. It doesn't really change much, but he sets them up for victory each and every match, and he's probably set them up to win the league. So Arteta should be there. Unai Emery is probably, if I'm going to rate the three, I rate Unai Emery the most, because I think that he does everything that I want in a manager. He does make changes. He is playing the chess match before, during, and until the end of the match. Emery is an exceptional manager, deserves to be in tier 1. He is getting the most out of that club. I'm talking about Aston Villa. And then, of course, you got Pep Guardiola. Obviously, he deserves to be there. Man City will be there in the end. I don't think they're going to win the title, but Pep is Pep. Pep is one of the best probably ever, so he deserves to be in tier 1. Okay. So to end the show, where should Marco Silva be? So I had Shahid Khan in tier 1, and I think that's well-deserved. Marco's a little bit different of a situation because, like I said, I mentioned there are so many positives to take out of Marco. His game plans are great, okay? But he doesn't really change much during the match. He plays with a small squad. Again, his teams seem to fade over the course of the season because he likes a small squad. So those are the negatives, but there are a lot of positives. In the end, there's no question about one thing. Marco Silva is a good to very good manager. So Marco Silva deserves to be in tier 2. That's where he is. That's where he belongs to be. That's where I think he should be right now. The question is, can Marco Silva go to tier 1 and be one of the best in the Premier League? That's up to Marco Silva, because the one thing that I would like him to do is to basically self-evaluate himself and his staff and make adjustments and basically say, we need to do this better, we need to do that better, not just the players himself. Does he do that? I don't feel that he does. So until he does that, I think he will be a good to very good manager with the potential to be one of the best. He just isn't there. And I think it comes down to Marco Silva. Like I said, fantastic manager. Well, I should say very good manager. But if he wants to be a fantastic manager, I think it's time to adjust. I think it's time to self-evaluate. There are things to work on. It's okay to admit your faults and work on them. That's what I think Marco needs to do to get into tier 1, to be one of the best managers in the Premier League. He isn't there yet, but that's okay because he happens to be a good to very good manager, and that's very good for Fulham. And we shall see how Fulham end the season, and Marco Silva as well. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this quick episode of Cottage Talk today. These shows tend to be about 15 minutes long, and I hope you enjoy it. And Like I said, the podcast version is exclusive on the Cottage Talk Patreon page. Please do subscribe if you want to listen back to the show. And but this will just still be on YouTube, but will be off the other platforms. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. My name is Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk.